ascendant. This has a Gemini ascendant. So whatever that means to you, not perhaps understand cycles, but what I'm saying, after September 11, some astrologers said, oh, it has to be Sagittarius ascendant. But I'm going to kind of like not politically involved, and I have always used this ascendant, Gemini. Point is, whatever chart you might know about Pluto in itself has traveled around the whole Earth, if you will, in cycles, and are coming back to where it was when it was born. And that's pretty big, because if you are politically involved or not, there will be changes. There will be that force of what is America about. We go back to the land. Capricorn is the land. We go back to the government, maybe in respect to the history here. Pluto, underground, death, and we're finding skeleton in the earth at this point. It's like so strong history that we have to revisit, or it is forced to be revisited. And if it's ignored, it will just stay and continue throughout 2022. So if you have a personal little thing that you need to purge, share, and be strong in that change, this is the year 2022. And that is thinking about America politically, ecologically, economically, spiritual. So those are the bad news. But the good news is that Pluto is rebirth. It has to be a shift. So be careful what you ask for. Go out and protest in the street. Stay home and protest in your own self for what you need to change. So then also a lot of astrology, and I'm not going to get into too much details, but when I want to say this is the symbol of Pluto, if I didn't explain that, and it's 27 degrees when it was born in 1776. But that's the wrong history, but let's not go there at the moment. But Pluto then in the sky throughout the 2022 will be 27 degrees. There's 3 hits, February, mid, and November, December of 2022. But remember, he will leave this Capricorn in Pluto. It leaves Capricorn in 2024, actually in the beginning. So is that like how much has to be purged and cleansed? How angry as people? It's an birth and death. We should not be scared of that. My favorite word for this whole concept is metamorphic. It has to be in the depth. And are you a deep person, or are you just like flying by this lifetime? Take yourself not too serious, but allow yourself, even cleaning a room or a closet is enough, cleansing. And so I also wanted just to say that in connection to this strong thing with the Pluto return is Neptune opposes each other. If I have a little, see, Neptune here is 22 degrees. Neptune here is 22 degrees in Virgo. Now it's in Pisces. It likes to be in Pisces. My favorite placement of all. I have a little bit of Pisces in my chart. So that it is spirituality, but it's also, hello, can I just escape this image? Agneta is trying to be positive, and I am positive. Neptune is like, hello, meditation, yoga, unusual things, but it should not be in your agenda. The drugs and alcohol. Recovery is such a beautiful determination, mission at this point, or you're continuing recovery, whatever that might mean to you. Neptune is art. Neptune means nature and swimming in the ocean. He's really upset, that Neptune, and that will be 2026. So we can go and pick up some trash. So this would be the last hit when Pluto actually goes into Aquarius, January 26, 2024. Just show you here with this little guy here. Now he has done what he needs to do since 2018. We won't go into those little, I know this is the symbol, and of course, then you have to learn astrology. But you still see that Neptune here in Pisces. That's his home in Pisces. And so Neptune says, could you please just clean my water? That's 2/3 of the earth. And I do believe what's underneath the water might be our savior. I know they try to go up, but even Venus they're trying to go up to. But underneath what we're already walking on and swimming on is a lot of minerals, a lot of wealth that might be the future. And the point about that line to 2026, as again, it's not just America, but is what I have been passionate about, because when things change, they don't go overnight. And for you who might have been in the metaphysical field for some time, we always talked about the new age and like, oh yeah, we got ridiculed for the new age. It's like, okay, so here it is. Because in the acquisitive outer planet is not your little things, is the big things. And how do you react about these big things? It's up to you. Big changes coming within and allowing that to perhaps, I'm showing here the Greta Thunberg, the Swedish social activist. I followed her way beyond when I have a chart on her. But this is the hope. This little 16-year-old girl says, we need to change. We need to do this. So it's not just her. I do follow her. I have faith in that, but COVID that kind of like shut her down a little bit. Not shut down, she's still very active. But here is her chart. But it was just amazing that from 2018, reading the Swedish paper and just following different aspects of what's going on. So she's born January 3rd, 2003. I'm still trying to find her exact birth time. But when we don't have a birth time, we take the sun as raising up at that day. So it's not because she has to have a Capricorn ascendant, even though I did see one time, but I want to see that register in Sweden that the sun, Capricorn, she's a Capricorn, her moon is in Capricorn, and the moon is very important because it changes every 2.5 days. The sun changes every 30 days, 2.5 days, and here she is born during a new moon. And she has Mercury, her communication in Capricorn. So when we then move back into what I have tried to share with you, Capricorn, government, restriction, depression, melancholy is okay. Seriousness is also, the fool laughs all the time. So we have this image of her from 2003, and I have followed her. She could not eat or talk for years. She couldn't go to school. And then she realized, Friday, I'll go out and protest at the parliament in Stockholm. And she still does it. Now, what could that little girl, never mind she's Swedish, but what could this little girl do to humanity? Because remember those Saturn, and we have these, what I talked about before, when Saturn in Capricorn, karmic node in Capricorn, this is the time when she came out, if you will, in August 2019. She came to Hartford. No, she didn't come to Hartford, but the protest, I was there. But in 2018, I had followed her because she's on the news, she's everywhere. And then it was more like that, walking millions of people. A little 16-year-old girl can do that. Is mass consciousness. People are, I don't want to say the government are doing wrong, because it's a big job for them. And the movement, when Pluto also comes in here, 21 degrees Pluto, on her, actually her parents had to save her life. They stopped working. The mother is a very well-known opera singer, and they had to change their life to change so she can go out and do what she basically shut down with. She does have Asperger, which she loves, and I respect it, because if you see some pictures of her, the compassionate, like the Capricorn, I'm going to show the world what I really want. That's not an illness. It's an asset for us to understand. She was just a metaphor to teach us, not just about the COVID, but the environment. Never mind, I did look up that new movie, Don't Look Up. I loved it. Trust science or not. So I take moons of the pictures, and I lose track of time because I have a lot to share. So I would like to ask Joyce just to help me a little bit. Do you have questions? I got so much to share. And how are we doing with the time?
Okay, Agneta, we happily have gone through one show. We are partway through a second show, so our viewers will get to see this in two parts. And we have plenty of time for some questions. So I took some notes, and my questions will be kind of clumsy because my knowledge of astrology is limited. And maybe we could go back to
I can go back to what slide?
well, no, I wanted to go back to speaker view. So what we could have is
Oh,
a conversation, but I don't want you to lose your slides in case we want to come back. There was so much information, and that's what I love about your work. It is so deep and so meaningful, and probably people will have learned more in this one little episode or double episode than they've ever known about astrology. You give them the planets such personality that they're not dry. It's not just something on paper. And it makes so much sense when you talk about traits and interactions. And Pluto really stuck out for me as cleansing,
mm,
purging, birth and death. So many people said, well, while I was stuck home for the pandemic, I cleaned out closets, I cleaned out drawers, I gave a lot of things away, I allowed more energy in and created more space by getting rid of things. And a lot of people said for the holidays, instead of giving items and things, we shared experiences or we offered experiences. 7 year cycles, the cycles are so different for each. I can't find the notes that I wrote, but
yeah.
the longer the cycle, does it necessarily mean the more powerful the influence, or just the longer duration?
That's a good question. It depends on what planet it is, because Saturn in itself has a 7 year cycle, 7 year each. Jupiter, fast moving, little conniver, 1 year. Uranus is 7 years, comes together in 84 years. So it has to go around the ecliptic to come into meet each other. And it just so happened that 2020 was like, we didn't even know. There was a gentleman when I did a lecture, is it going to be a war? No, but now it was a war of COVID because people split. So when cycle comes together with three major ones in 2020, we go like, whoa, stop that sky. And you can't. So every personality of the planets, they might skip some planets, but just in Capricorn and Aquarius, they like clumped up together. But within each cycle, what I was talking about, Pluto, which rules Scorpio, which I happen to know you are. so that Pluto in itself, in the planet of the Capricorn, it has either 12 or 21 year cycle, because he's like out there. He doesn't follow the pattern, but when he shows up, which he's doing right now until 2024. So each, for example, the sun is a cycle of 30 days. So when they meet, they come together to be together. And sometimes is what we call a conjunction. They are on top of each other, as Saturn and Jupiter was, like this. Saturn, Uranus were in a challenging square. So in this segment, not too technical, but they meet, and who's the strongest? If we were like on top of each other between Saturn and Pluto, both of them win, but both of them have to show their personality, which was January 2020 was like, whoa, Saturn, Pluto. And there you go with the beginning of the pandemic 2020.
I just want to make one little note. My sun sign is Sagittarius.
thought you were Scorpio. Why do I think so?
I don't know if I act like Scorpio, I'm not sure,
Oh,
but
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
Sagittarius. I'm December 10th. Um,
Okay.
so interesting. I know a lot of people, when they kind of know a little bit about astrology, they always guess, oh, you must be this or you must be that. They seldom come up with Sagittarius. So I
Yeah.
think that's
Well,
interesting.
excuse me for that. That Sagittarius was teaching education, and look how much you have done and still teaching. So sorry
Yeah.
about that, but that was kind of good.
That's
My,
okay.
yeah, yeah.
I love how you see the positive opportunities in everything. It's not doom or gloom, and the word metamorphic. That's perfect because everything is energetic and we can choose how we want to receive it and what we want to do with it. And I'm so touched by how moved you are and supportive of Greta. Is it possible to go back to her chart?
Yes, here it is. Yeah,
Now,
because
tell me what all of these, like the groupings that are very tight together, tell us what these three areas that look like there's lots of symbols in them.
so her being born January 3rd makes her naturally a Capricorn, which is this sun sign. Looks like a little sun, right? 12 degrees. This
Okay.
little symbol here looks like what, Joyce? This symbol here.
The moon, obviously. Yeah,
Okay.
move your cursor a little bit more to make it easier for our viewers to see where you
Here,
are. So
yeah,
keep it
here,
in motion when you're there.
here,
Great.
here,
Thank you. Yeah.
here. And then you have, these are all Capricorn planets. This symbol here for Capricorn. So no matter what, if we don't have her birth time, she absolutely have Mercury too here in Capricorn. And of course, these two planets that seems to clump up together too is generational. Neptune and Uranus is in Aquarius. Oops, sorry. So that she always lived with that. She has a very interesting Venus and Mars together in Scorpio, because that's her, those are, Venus is love, compassion, Mars is when you get frustrated, and she really gets into that scorpionic part of her to really practically get her voice out, but with some suffering too, but that's her path. So the other part of her chart, which we don't know where to put it, would be here, her karmic node, which is my specialty, because the nodes here is in Gemini. That's the north node. Opposite the north node is the south node. And that comes into her fate and karmic link. What does she communicate about? Where's that little thing? There it is. She communicates. And when there is an active part of Gemini or Sagittarius in her life, as it was the last, not counting, well, 19 months ago, and they're going to shift. So recently they have been in that position of Sagittarius Gemini, the eclipse pattern, which is my specialty. So something has brought out her in her life, how to bring out messages. She has started to write more than just speak. And that comes from the past. She has an educational part of her that she needs to share with the world. So again, if that was not clear, she's born with this circle here. And in 2019, when people start to be aware of her, we had already started in 2018 to have all this lineup of Capricorn that affects her natal chart. Do you see that?
I do. Explain what degree means when you say this is
Sure.
27 degrees, or what for the layperson.
Yeah, no, right. And that's absolutely valid, because astrology has a lot to do with numerology, actually, because we start from 0 degrees up to 30. Before it turns into 30, which is what I show you with the outer planets, it has to hit 29 hours, 59 minutes, 59 seconds before it goes into 0 degrees. And of course, with the fast moving planets, that happens often, but not so often with the outer planets. So every section of planets, the zodiac signs, and the houses, 1, 2, 3, they are the degree of how we then, on the ecliptic, which is infinite, they are divided at the zodiac signs. And when we look at the sky astronomically, they are not always as a cake as this chart is, but they are still in that zodiac sign. And that's why whatever system we might use, there is still that Capricornian influence from her personality. And especially at a new moon or a full moon, it just becomes stronger. And because she has the sun and the moon and Mercury in Capricorn, she's going to be very strong in those degrees that are closer together than further apart. And that's why it's in her sun and the moon, 12, 18 degrees, they could be both 12 when it's the exact minute of a new moon or a full moon. The closer they are in degree, which is why this, going back to December 24th, 2021, which we just experienced, is the degree. And they will meet in degree again in the fall of 2022. And that's why the little bit of cautiousness, but much better, not the in 10 square that they were just recently and throughout 2021, if that might help you.
It does. Thank you. Now I'm going to bring us back to gallery. If you could maybe turn your
Stop share. Yeah.
your share off. Thank you. Hard to believe we've already done a part 1, part 2. Quick question. Once you are, or if you were to find out her exact moment of time, does it change her chart a lot, or does it just fine tune or refine it?
Thank you. It's a chart change every 4 minutes.
Oh,
4 minutes.
okay.
But in 2 hours, the ascendant change, the whole chart in 2 hours. So I've been trying to get in Sweden. It's quite easy to get a birth of time, but I have to just take the time. So therefore, we sometimes take noon or when the sun rises. So the planets, her sun, moon will not change. Mercury will not change. It's just the position. There's that movement. In one day, the whole chart changed.
Okay, well, we're grateful for her birth and for what she's doing with her natural gifts. And thank you so much for bringing your natural gifts and those that you've worked so hard to develop with us. I will share your contact info with our viewers so that they can stay in touch. And we're going to do another show, so viewers get to see you again very soon. So thanks so much, Agneta. And thank you for joining us on the Sacred Journey. We'll catch you next time.
The Saybrook Fish House in Canton has been serving fresh seafood, chicken, and steak entrees for 34 years, offering 3 cozy dining room settings, a newly renovated pub with craft beer, wine by the glass, specialty cocktails, and a lighter fare menu. Open for lunch and dinner 7 days a week. Reservations accepted for parties of 2 to 42, and gift certificates are also available. The Saybrook Fish House, nestled at the crossroads of Route 44, 202, and 179 in Canton.